Hey there, welcome to Business Breakthroughs. I am your host, Neal DiPentino, and we have a great guest with us today. He is an author, he's a speaker, and he's also a business coach, but more than all of that, he is an advocate for workplace happiness. And I love that whole concept. We've been talking a little bit about it before the show. We're going to get into that in just a bit, but from Charlotte, North Carolina, please welcome the founder of the Fun First Strategy, Mr. Pete Kusiak. Pete, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Neal. Thanks for having me on. This is excellent.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited.
Fantastic. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yeah, Kusiak. You got it right.
I've been a big fan of the Broncos for a long time, and their coach for a while was Kubiak.
Yeah.
And I just kind of put two and two together. I should have asked you before the podcast, but that's okay. We got it.
We got it. You did good.
All right. So we're ready to have a little fun today, right?
That's right. So, the Fun First Strategy is all about making fun a priority, right? And so I thought it would be kind of neat to start our podcast here with a little game. It's called the Jinx game. I actually I learned this from my kids. And what you do is you take a topic, any topic, and I'll say 1, 2, 3, and you shoot a word associated with that topic. And we keep going rapid fire until we say the same thing, in which then you have to say Jinx, and the first person to say Jinx wins. Okay?
Okay.
Pretty easy. Right. We'll do one round of my topic, and then we'll do one round of your topic. Okay.
Let me ask you. How old are your children?
So I have 4 kiddos. My oldest is 14. I have a 12-year-old, and I have an 8 and 6-year-old. So we have lots of fun and games in my house.
Okay. Well, I feel like I'm already in trouble, but let's go ahead and get this thing rolling.
All right. So here's the topic I'm going to choose. It's going to be sports. I love sports. I have a background in sport exercise science. So I thought it'd be kind of neat for us to do that. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and just shout out a sport. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Tennis.
Lacrosse.
Oh, we didn't match. Okay, we'll keep going. We're going to try to go faster. 1, 2, 3. Baseball.
Football.
1, 2, 3. Tennis.
Baseball. Up.
1, 2, 3. Soccer.
Swimming.
1, 2, 3. Softball.
Football.
1, 2, 3. Football.
Racing. This is going to go on forever.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Lacrosse.
Oh,
Jinx.
I couldn't think.
Jinx. I got you.
You got me.
You got me. Anyway,
Absolutely.
Just a little fun, bringing the smiles already.
I love it.
But
Absolutely.
That's how you play the Jinx game.
I love it. So, when you're hooking up with people and teaching this concept that you have or talking about, so is this like a game that you play in order to get the kind of ball rolling, maybe create some teamwork, that type of thing?
It's maybe not that game, but gameplay is certainly a big part of our strategy. Is when you can loosen up with play, what I call my principles of play, which stands for prioritize laughter and youth. You already start the stage with creativity, problem solving, not being afraid to make a mistake. And when you bring that into the work environment, it just magic happens. So I think, I've worked with businesses already that, they do play a lot of games. They may have a really neat game room, or they'll have certain weeknights, or a couple times a year they'll go do something. But I think, the true magic happens when you make the play, right, and the fun a priority. So that's where the fun first strategy comes in, because you actually will put fun first, and you learn and you work through those play activities. So yeah, that's just a little sample there of what we would do.
What's really interesting is that so I've had several podcasts and I've interviewed several people, and I've been in business for a long, long, long time. And I've never really come across anybody that had this kind of a concept. I mean, the concept's been there, but it's not, like a mantra or something that, is like really, you just know it's there. It's not like you have a great job, you have a lot of fun, but nobody actually says, we're going to make fun first. Yeah. I've never had that before in my life.
Well, we're actually going to use it as a business strategy, right? As that catalyst to drive success. And I can tell you that, being a business owner myself, owning multiple business and franchising, this is what works. The grind mentality. The culture of grind is just a thing of the past. The new workforce is coming in, and they're looking for things like workplace happiness, mental health awareness, choosing organizations that prioritize their well-being. And there was no better way for me to create a strategy than to use fun as that catalyst. Because what's more universal than fun? Everybody likes to have fun. It's just a matter of making sure we're aligned on what that fun is, right?
Sure.
Yeah, and I call it the rule of grandma. You got to follow the rule of grandma, otherwise you're going to have an HR nightmare. So if you wouldn't do it in front of grandma, don't do it at business.
Okay. Well, that makes a whole lot of sense. I like that. Yeah. Well, of course, if you knew my grandma, she was like big in the roller derby. So she was like, she had some choice words when they were, when that was on TV. But anyway,
nice. That's awesome.
That's a whole nother story altogether.
Hey, you didn't throw out roller derby when we were talking about sports.
I just thought of it just now. I should have, but we'd have been still going for the next 25 minutes. Right. So what do you say if somebody says, look, okay, I buy into your concept, fun first. I mean, we need to have a fun environment. We have an environment that people really, they want to come to work in the morning. They want to be here. They want to do their jobs well and everything. They just want to be part of everything we've got going on. But, we're a business first. We have to have a revenue stream. We have to have, some rules that say, look, things have to get done. How do you address those type of things?
That's a great question. Philosophy? Yeah. Thanks for asking, because all work, no play, all work. All those cliches that you hear in business. One of my favorite things that kind of bucks the system is a lot of people say, well, yeah, I believe in work hard, play hard, right? That as a business, we need to work hard and we need to hit our business goals and we need to make sure that we're profitable and following our business plan and things like that. And then we can play. And I honestly believe that it's an artificial dichotomy, that they just don't go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. You do them both the same, right? So instead, I like to flip the credo: play hard and work hard, right? Play hard and work hard, because if your focus, if your culture is about revenue and working hard, you're going to wind up with a grind culture. You're actually going to push people away, especially the younger generations we were talking about earlier. So although business and profitability and hitting your goals are important, you have to find a way to do that hand in hand. So it's not a reward, because what I find, especially with a lot of companies that reach out to me, is that they'll tell me, I have a reward system. We have an incentive system where we go play, we'll do things when we hit goals. And I'm like, no, it's wrong. It needs to be with working towards your goals, because you're going to find that your teams and your people and yourself, more importantly, are actually working hard. You're more creative. You're more productive because you're having fun along the way. A lot of times, and honestly, in my early business years, I was guilty of this too, where we would have those incentives. And sometimes we wouldn't hit the goal to achieve the incentive. So what do you think that did to the team? It actually worked as a demotivator, and we ended up losing a lot of people because we couldn't follow through. So a good practice for me, and one of the things that I would say when you're implementing the strategy, is you never want to dangle the carrot of fun. So although business, revenues, your goals, all those things are important, you want to use it with. Don't dangle the carrot of fun and never do it. Do it with. You'll find that your people are way more happier. They're way more productive. They're way more creative. The problem solving that happens with the fun first strategy is unreal.
Cool. Very good. So basically, it's the kind of the theory or the philosophy of immediate gratification versus the delayed gratification thing. Like, you're going to get something, you dangle that carrot, you're going to get something down the road if you do this, that, and the other thing. Now you're just basically paying off as you go along, and so people can see that reward, and it's not this thing that this shining star that you can never reach.
Right.
Perhaps. Right.
Exactly. It's infused with. So it's a play hard and work hard mentality.
Right. So obviously this is not something you're sitting on the couch on a Friday night watching television thinking about. So, I think I'm going to start this philosophy called fun first, the strategy, I should say. You've actually been using this in your own business now for the past, 20 some odd years.
Yeah. So I've been a franchisee for about 16 years, but I've been in franchising for over 20 years. working both with franchisors and different brands, plus owning my own. So these are strategies that I've kind of learned and implemented over a 20 plus year career. But what was neat about being in franchising and working with business owners all around the world, business leaders, sales managers, general managers, part-time staff, you name it, is there was the same problems brand to brand. It was the same faces, right? But different people. There was all universal. So I was like, yeah, different products, right? Yeah, I get that. It was different products that we were putting out there, but it was the same issue. So I said, there's got to be a unique, there's got to be a singular way to kind of address all this. And then I started saying, the businesses that seem to win, the ones that are really doing well, are the ones that are having the most fun. The environment is really neat. The culture is amazing. The people want to work to their best abilities because it's just a neat environment to be in. And, like I said, I have experienced it myself with owning our businesses, which we own the little gym here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And, we used to have a ton of fun with the kids, right? That's what the products was all about. But some of those same strategies that we were employing, at that business, were also working at other businesses that I had my hands in, right? That you would have never have guessed, like executive coaching or roofing or even quick service restaurants, right? The same concept. And I was like, wow, this is something. I need to put it together so it's achievable and that there's a little bit of a structure to it. And it doesn't necessarily sound like fun, but for me, I like to kind of do those things. It was fun for me. So I kind of put the structure together. I was like, all right, here's the steps. Here's kind of what you need to do to really liven up your business. So it was a culmination of lots of years of practice, lots of years of making mistakes, but also seeing what was happening in business America, right? And seeing, okay, there's got to be a way to solve these issues because they're all basically the same issues, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's how it came about.
I love it. So you talk about different steps. I want to get into that just in a second, but one of the things that I was kind of thinking as you were speaking is that if an employee, a staff is, they're enjoying their job, they're having fun and everything, I would imagine that for an employer, the retention rate goes up, their loyalty rate goes up. People are going to stay longer. They're going to be loyal employees. They're going to do a much better job. And they want to do a much better job for that employer if they're enjoying what they're doing. Is that correct?
That's 1,000% correct. And I'll even take it up to a next level is there was a time in my business ownership where we were having a tremendous amount of turnover. And for whatever reason, right? And what we found was once we started implementing these strategies, I said, whether somebody came to work for me one day or 10 years, I wanted their experience to be the most fun experience they had with work, right? With a business. And things started to change and the attitudes would change. And even if folks left us, right? Because I'm a realist. I know that in that particular business that I owned, we weren't creating lifetime employees. It happens once in a while, but most of the time it was young college age kids or, older high school students, things like that. And then we had also young adults, older adults too. But we would have people leave to try a new experience just to come back a couple of weeks later and say, oh my gosh, this just wasn't what I was thinking it was, even though this, that, or the other, we want to come back because we know that the experience here, the fun we were having, it just was more fun to come to work. So, So yes, retention rates soar, but also if you have the right mindset and you understand that, it's okay if somebody leaves, they're going to come back too. So,
right.
Your rehire, your rehire is easier to do.
I love that, and if you're a smart employer, a smart business owner, you realize that it costs you more to hire and train a new employee than it does to retain the employee that you have. And I love what you're saying. I think that that's definitely one way. I mean, because you think about a lot of employers say, well, I'm going to bonus them. I'll give them some money. I'll throw money at them. I'll throw them maybe a couple of days off, that type of thing. And that's all fine and good, but that's not always what incents somebody to do a good job for you.
That's right. That's right.
Well, fantastic. And you talked about the steps involved with your strategy. Can you maybe just kind of give us kind of a little bit of an overview? I mean, obviously you don't want to give us the entire thing. Maybe we don't have time, but just kind of let's walk through some of the steps of how you would approach a business with this strategy.
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked that, because when I was creating the strategy and I was writing my book that you mentioned is coming out, I wanted to make sure that it was easy. Having been experienced with reading a lot of business books, and trying to implement different strategy was always cumbersome, right? And it would fizzle out after, maybe the third or fourth or fifth step. So I said, when I create this, and when I start, writing, I wanted to make sure it was easy. One step, there's one very important step that starts everything. And that's by asking the most important igniter question is, how do I make this fun? If you have a business problem, if you have a desired outcome, if you have a goal, start by asking, how do I make this fun? You're automatically going to click some positive parts of your brain. Your creativity and problem solving are going to soar because you're thinking in a manner that's more productive rather than how and, if and, dollars and, all the stuff that come along with, really being stuck in a place. Like, how do I make this fun? And then there's the follow up to that is just, you go grab a play. And that's play stands for prioritize laughter and youth. Right. And I have a playbook that you can use, and it's got 60 something different plays that you can just grab a play and have some fun. And then you'll realize that solving that business issue or challenging that obstacle or hitting that metrics makes it so much easier.
Fantastic.
So, super easy and simple.
It's a philosophy. We call it a strategy, but really a strategy and a philosophy that maybe more people should think about, and especially in this day and age. So, like when you're talking about the fun first thing, in like an office, for instance, like our office, we kind of work on a hybrid basis. We have people who are here all the time, and now since COVID, a lot of people are working from home. So, how do you do that? How do you deal with the people who are not necessarily in your office to help make their jobs fun?
Yeah, absolutely. So remote employment is really big, right? We all know that. And it's often overlooked in cultures, and it's often overlooked business cultures. That is, it's overlooked in that sense of community. So I find that communication strategies are important, right? In tying everybody together. So I have in my playbook so many different ways for remote teams to get in on the fun. But it does involve more digital and more communication resources. But there are so many online games. There are so many online communication softwares that you can use to create this fun and neat culture and keep the team together. I'll give you an example. So not too long ago, I was working with a company, and they were all virtual. And we found out through some coaching that the team loved cooking. For the most part, everyone enjoyed cooking or eating, right? So I said, well, why don't you do
Who
that?
doesn't, right?
Right. So why don't you do this? The next team meeting, what I want you to do is you're going to draw from a hat, and that person is going to actually virtually cook a meal for everybody, right? And then you had to take notes, right? As the one watching, you had to take notes because you are then going to film yourself cooking that same exact meal, right, for the following meeting. So it just created this really neat environment where they were communicating, they were talking, they were having some fun, with bonding and, communication. And actually that solved a lot of other issues they were having, because as a remote team, sometimes doubling up, tripling up on work happens all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're not communicating effectively. So imagine if you use something that was as silly as cooking, but it made your team talk more on a frequent basis. I guarantee you they were talking about work projects as well. And it caused a lot of, it created a lot of, camaraderie, but it also alleviated and minimized the amount of double work that was being done in that company. So,
Right.
yeah, just from a little silly game.
Little silly game. And, I can imagine, I've worked from home pretty much my entire career. I'm in an office now and I love the office environment. But, I can remember that I kind of felt like I wasn't part of the team, because, the people who worked inside the office, they would get together on the weekends and the evenings, have a drink or whatever. They would, sit and console each other when there was a problem. They would help each other and celebrate, with each other when there was something cool that happened and everything. And here I am like 100 miles away by myself and going like, geez, I'm missing out on all this. So I love the whole concept of trying, even if they're not in that office, trying to bring them. And I think it's super important this day and age because we are distant and we do feel like we're on, an island all by ourselves sometimes.
Yeah. And I can tell you too, sometimes, businesses that I talk to, they're a little bit hesitant when it comes to incentivizing or doing things like play activities and having fun because they think there's a cost associated with it, right? There's going to be a dollar associated. But if you take the example I talked about, there was no financial investment from the company other than, paying their team who was already having a team meeting. We just injected something that was already happening, right? Hey, you have food at your fridge. There was no cost to the business to create this opportunity for a fun experience.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
Yeah, it worked really well. But I was thinking too about another instance where, coffee talk. Right. I don't know if it's becoming a big thing right now. Everyone's like, let's meet for coffee, especially, businesses that do a lot of heavy outreach. Right. And they're trying to schedule time with you to, give a pitch or talk about your services and stuff. So it's like schedule coffee. And that's great. I love coffee. You're going to get me every time on the phone with with an introduction with coffee. But if we're not actually drinking coffee, you're going to lose with me. Because don't promise me coffee and not deliver on coffee.
Of course, come on.
Yeah, right. So, the fun first strategy would say, also include elements of surprise. So I think, if you're going to go through the process of outreach, you have somebody that's interested to say, hey, why don't you shoot me the best way to send you a gift certificate, right?
Yeah.
Or email you, $5 or $10 to Starbucks. Easy to do these things. And then go grab your coffee or have it delivered to your house and we'll have coffee together. So you initiate that with them, right? Or whatever they choose, if they like tea or whatever, that's fine. But, take it up to the next level, right? Don't leave these empty promises out there because I tell you, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, 100%. I've actually used that concept in sales where I've had, I can remember a long time ago, I was working with a big client, and she was pregnant. She was having a really tough day physically and mentally, and she just didn't want to talk to anybody. She didn't want to, but we had things we had to get done. And so I asked my assistant to send her a cookiegram. And I didn't even know if there was such a thing at the time as a cookiegram. I just figured there's got to be some way. And so a couple hours later, she called me and thanked me for the cookies that were delivered. And her whole attitude totally changed because now all of a sudden somebody took enough time to know that she was having some difficulty, showed that it wasn't just like, hey, let's talk business. It was something about, caring for one another, that type of thing. And it all worked out pretty well. We did a lot of business with them thereafter. We didn't even talk business when she called. We just talked about, when she was going to have her baby and that kind of stuff. So it's really cool. So I really appreciate everything you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, we're getting really close to the end here. I hate to cut you off there.
No worries.
We have something else very important to talk about, something that's coming up on January 23rd. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, thanks so much for mentioning. But I have, my book launches January 23rd. It's called Drop the F-Bomb in Your Business with the Fun First Strategy. So having a little play on words there. The F-bomb, not the F-bomb you're thinking, and certainly not the finance bomb, because there's nothing sounds like less fun than finance, but whatever. Right. It's actually the fun bomb. And so the book's all about, obviously business genre book, and it's about steps and the Fun First Strategy and how you can actually bring fun into your business. You're going to detonate a fun bomb in your business. So it's all about all the ways to do that, buying into the concept, talking about, possibilities on how it works and, what to use and things like that. So it's really terrific. One of the neatest things about the book is I wanted to write a book and I needed it to feel fun, right? Because how do you bring that out in a book? Because to me, like I said before, I've read books as like the 10 strategies of, or the 5 rules of, or the 15 rules. I said, oh man, my book needs to be a little bit more lively. So you'll see that part of the strategy is to take mandatory fun breaks. And we talk about that. I wrote about that in the book, but I actually have that built into the book. So at the end of each chapter, you take a mandatory fun break and you'll do these little activities. So try to make it interactive and something a little bit different than you would see from a business strategy book.
I love it.
Yeah.
That sounds great. And you said January 23rd. How can our audience get a hold of this book?
Yeah. So right now I've got pre-sales going on. You go to www.thefunfirststrategy.com and you can order a copy there direct through me. I'm fulfilling a couple hundred orders that I'll sign and send out. But you can go on Amazon, you can go on Barnes & Noble, you can go on Books A Million. You'll see that it's available for you to grab. So pretty excited about that. Pre-sales have gone really well, but the launch January 23rd, I think it's going to be huge. I think the book is so timely right now. Workplace happiness is a hot topic and your people care about it, right? Your younger generation is asking for it. And this book really helps bridge that gap. If you're, understand that this is the route you need to go. I really think that this is a concept that would work for me. Grab the book or give us a call. It will help you start to implement some of these strategies and some of these plays so that you can really create workplace happiness, not just for yourself, but the responsibility you have to do that with your people. So.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. So we're coming to the end. Any final thoughts you'd like to leave our audience with?
Just, keep fun first. That's at the end of the day. If you take one thing from me, keep fun first, not just in your business, but in your life and, enjoy it. We work really hard, right? I get that. And you'll have positive outcomes in life, but just keep fun first. And you'll be fine.
All right. Sounds great. So, Pete, you're also, one of the things we didn't mention, you also are a business coach. So if anybody wants to get in contact with you to talk about your coaching services, to talk more about your book and your strategy, and maybe just to find out a little bit more about Pete, how do they go about doing that? Yeah,
you can reach out. Like I said, go to my website, thefunfirststrategy.com. You can also email me, pete@thefunfirststrategy.com. One of the neat things we're offering now is a business certification in the Fun First strategy. So you can be a certified Fun First business. It comes with an amazing trophy that you can showcase, not just to the people you're interviewing so that they know they've made a right choice in coming to work for you, but your customers. One thing I forgot to mention too in the book is that there are strategies on how not just do you have fun first with the people that work with you, but how to have fun with your customers.
Well, that could come up in part 2.
I hear you. Absolutely.
All right. Sounds great. Well, Pete, thank you so much for being on our show with us today. Really, we're a great guest. Really appreciate it. And folks, that is our show for today. So thankful that you could be with us. Business Breakthrough is sponsored by Titan Media Works. Check us out at titanmediaworks.com. That's works spelled WORX. And check out all of our great hosts on the Small Business Delivered Network at smallbusinessdelivered.com. Until next time, have a fun day. Good seeing you. Take care. Bye-bye.